Oh, this is me back 3 July 2025. I was eating like an asshole, drinking all the whiskey. Um, I was 336 pounds, just not in a really good health state. Definitely a fatty liver. Tons of visceral fat. You can just tell by the distended belly. Just not a healthy person, which is not the norm for me, right? So I'm ex-military, super athletic, long distance running, cycling my whole life. I kind of just gave up all that, 5 years ago, and I just packed on 100+ pounds. Felt like that. I was kind of blind to it. Started researching GLP-1s to get out of it. That's when I came across Retatrutide. So I found Retatrutide, made a super expensive mistake, bought from a US vendor, super well known, but way overpaid, right? So I had no idea that they were buying it for basically $1 a milligram, which is what I pay now. So sourcing guide in the description for source I use. It gives you direct contact with them. You can always reach out on contact form for retatrutidelog.com for more information on that. But yeah, I was 336.6 pounds and just unhealthy. So I purchased Retatrutide, and I'm now 27 weeks into, so just over 6 months into my weight loss. We'll start off with some, you've seen the old me. We'll start off with some progress photos. You can see the current me. So I'll start off with, I've got some pretty standard photos here. So let's start off with front. I knew that I would make some kind of content, either with a blog or eventually migrate to YouTube. I thought I'd be much later into this journey than what I am now. Side. Trimming down pretty well. I can see like definite chest shelf now. And visceral fat is essentially gone from my midsection. So I'm just dealing with SubQ fat in my moobs and midsection essentially at this point. So the most stubborn fat for men. So I've got some additional pictures here, not side by side, but different lighting. Side here. I don't know, I think I'm looking pretty good. Better than what I was, that's for damn sure. Back. The camera tends to flatten all the images I take out, so what I see in the mirror is not what gets captured on camera. I'm just using a Google Pixel to take all these pictures. I've got nicer cameras. I probably should get a tripod and start doing that, but I started with the camera and I figured I'll do it exactly the same way in the same time of day in the same damn mirror, so there's no like trickery or anything going on with the camera magic. So a little bicep flex there. Yeah, so that's progress right there. Weight loss this week, debatable. So this week I came in at 253 pounds, and that is actually not true. 253.6. Sorry, I had the wrong index card up from last week. So 253.6, which is up 0.8 pounds. But there's a story with that, right? So there's a little body recomposition going on with how I've restructured my diet, and I'm trying to close out this cut. So since I have mostly just subcutaneous fat left based off of scans and what the scale tells me, I've got a smart Renfro scale. There'll be a link in the description if you want to see the exact one that I use. Pretty much any of them are probably just as accurate. But yeah, it's showing that a total of a 0.8 increase. So the fat mass, though, is what I'm after. So the trend on the fat mass continues to go down. So it's still tracking the resistiveness between water and fat and muscle. Water is muscle, so all that type of stuff. But the fat mass is down by 1.6 pounds. So it's tracking a 1.6 pound loss on the fat mass and then a 1.8 pound increase on the muscle mass. So the lean mass this week is through the roof. I don't think I gained, 1.2 pounds of muscle in a week. I think that's the creatine talking and water that just didn't come out of the intercellular muscle. So technically lean mass, yeah. And I am stronger this week than I was week after week. But the important part is the fat mass to me, so that's continuing to go down. The DEXA scan will be the real judge and jury for what that final composition looks like in February. So that's not the end of this cut, but that's just the next milestone marker for validating the protocol, right? So making sure I'm still in recomp, not just pure chasing the scale weight down. If I were doing that, I'd be crying right now because I'd be increasing, and I took 12 milligrams of Retatrutide and I ate like 2,000 calories or less every day. And I'd just be emotional about it, but I'm not, because I'm happy to see lean mass go up, muscle mass go down. I'll take that any day of the week, right? So fat mass is down, body fat percentage changed by 0.7%. So that puts me at 24.5% for this week on that. The visceral fat score for the scale stays the same. It stays at an 11, but that's down, probably I think 2 or 3 points since my last DEXA scan. So it is coming off. It is a slow, arduous process. I probably could have been faster on the scale weight if I would have maintained low carbohydrates and OMAD, but I'd be a lot flatter. I wouldn't have as much of a pump when I leave the gym, and I wouldn't feel like I'm stronger. So I like the feeling that I'm stronger in the gym versus, a 3 pound scale weight loss, and most of it was water. There is water markers on and you can see it's an increase. The numbers match up if you look at the report in the blog post. So so I think overall, even though it's a positive on the scale, it's really a net negative, right? So it's a negative in my mind of a 1.6, because that's the metric that I'm after, is to reduce fat. So there's always that old, do you want to lose weight or do you want to lose fat? And you want to lose fat, right? Because nobody likes being fat, and we want our lean mass to show. So that's what I'm after now. So I'm in that phase now. So I'll continue on the path that I'm on, and I'll just keep fighting the water. I've got some tools that are in me now that are working. We'll talk about that in the stack. So stack this week is a little simplified. It was a little wishy-washy with the HGH. If you remember last week, at least during the daily vlogging stuff, I pulled HGH because of a blood pressure spike. I got some blood pressure medication ordered in. That's arrived. I'm already actively on that. I'm taking an ARB blood pressure medication. Based off of the actual numbers, it's not as bad as I thought, but I'm still adding it in there for helping the kidneys be healthier, managing salt and water retention. So HGH is back in the stack this week. So total stack is 12 milligrams of Retatrutide. That's in a single dosage now. I have been, if you've been following along, I have been doing split dosing, where that just means that the total dosage for the week, if it was 12 milligrams, I would have split that on Monday and Thursday, 6 and 6. I missed Thursday last week and Friday, and by the time I was thinking about doing it, it's just too late to add it. It just screws up my whole thing. So I just kind of gritted my teeth through the weekend and didn't really cheat too bad on my diet when the hunger pains hit. Just stuck to my diet. And then Monday morning I did a 12 milligram, took 2 injections because I do a 10 milligram per milliliter reconstitution in I have 30 milligram vials for me. So that just left me at, how you say, two injections. So a full milliliter plus two 20 units to cap me off at 12 milligrams. HGH, I've increased that after I pulled it back or put it back into the cycle, and I'm taking it as a shallow intramuscular injection in either one of my delts. So I just alternate delts. It's really small. It's not like my testosterone injections where I have to cycle all over my body basically to prevent scar tissue, or too much scar tissue, I should say. I kind of like the 5 IUs of HGH versus the 4, which I was splitting. So previously I was splitting 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon before going to bed. What I'm seeing different with 5 IUs is it hits a little harder in the evening. Like I genuinely feel an effect from it, and recovery. It always helped with recovery, but overnight my fasting glucose is slightly elevated, and what that tells me is that it's moving fat, right? So it's helping with fat mobilization and shuttling that to the liver while I'm sleeping. So normally I'm in the mid to low 80s when I wake up for a fasted glucose, and now I'm in the high 90s or 100 when I wake up, and then I hit the gym. It dips down a little bit. I've reduced my carbs on my diet slightly. Mainly white rice is what I eat for the simple carbs in my diet, and I put that in breakfast exactly right after post gym. So I pulled those carbs back a little bit because I only want a slight insulin bump from the food intake, because I've already got glucose in the blood from fat burning, right? So I just want my body to use that. So I'll give it a little bit of a spike post gym to help shuttle that, get the nutrient partitioning into the muscle for that. Still on 150 milligrams of testosterone. I changed that. I used to do SubQ, 3 SubQ injections. I found that the oil tended to leave lumps in wherever I did the SubQ injection. I didn't really like it. It wasn't terrible, but again, I don't know. So I decided to try intramuscular injections. So I increased it to 2. So I just split the 150 in 2, and I do Monday and Thursday injections. And I enjoy that. It feels better. It seems like it's a more even though say you get a sharper peak, but that's basically what I'm doing. So my wife out there, she's gonna go pick up my daughter. The other thing I've got in there is just 2 milligrams of GHKCU. That is really just insurance policy. For loose skin, I don't see any huge like warning signs that I'm gonna have like a ton of loose skin, but the I figure why not? It's so cheap and easy to mix. I just buy raw powder for that, and I just mix it in a small beaker that I have, and then I filter it using PES syringe filters into a 10 ml vial, and it lasts me for a long time. Let's see. ARB, I believe, is working good. Blood pressure's in normal range still. I haven't felt, it hasn't dropped it dramatically, meaning like it hasn't tanked my blood pressure or anything like that. I have noticed the first few days of taking it, I did notice like an evacuation of water, and mostly around my midsection. Hopefully that shows up in pictures today. I just ordered that from a pharma source. That source is not in the guide, so there's certain things that Gumroad won't let me put in in the guide. My source for testosterone is one of them, and my this other source, basically an Indian pharma. They're both Bitcoin. I include them in the newsletter with discount codes, so if you need access to that, join the newsletter or just reach out on the contact form and I'll get you taken care of. I did go donate blood this week. So I've had a natural high, I wouldn't even call it natural, but even before I started TRT, which is pretty well known for causing high hematocrit in certain people, which increases your red blood cell count, making you have just thick blood. Basically, before I even started, I was on the borderline, right? So just over the line for being approved to even start TRT. It was a combination of, I thought maybe dehydration, but really it was sleep apnea. So when I was at my biggest, I had sleep apnea. You know, it's basically gone. My wife says I don't even snore anymore, which is perfect, right? So the type I had was like the back of my throat would relax. Of course, I was drinking too. So the drinking being fat and back of my throat flapping down. So typically when you have sleep-induced high hematocrit from sleep apnea, it's you're suffocating. So you're going hypoxic. And when you go hypoxic, your body panics and increases your EPO, which tells your body, your bone marrow, to start churning out red blood cells. So making me have thick blood. It did go down, reduced percentage-wise. Last labs I did, so I did labs in November, mid-November. I'll do another set in mid-February. Same time frame as the DEXA scan, within a day or two. But that basically told me it reduced it, so I really wasn't too worried about it. I was still just over the border, but down a few points. But I decided to schedule a blood donation, went and did that, and I didn't really feel any adverse effects. No lightheadedness. I didn't feel sore the next day. I didn't feel tired, exhausted. I just felt normal. So that tells me that I really had a lot of extra blood in there. And to be honest, it basically reduced my blood pressure a very short period of time, like 12 hours. So like I did a blood pressure check, obviously, when I did pre-donation, and then I did one the next morning. So I did this in the evening after work. Did one the next morning, and it was perfect, normal, like 117 over 70, I think it was. I'd have to go look at the meter, but I think that's what it was. And then basically shortly after that, it sucked water in, and my blood pressure went back up exactly to my baseline. So it didn't really have an effect on my overall blood pressure, the hematocrit, the thick blood, and my systolic, I believe, the lower one, is always 70 or below. So I don't have hardening. So I'm not super concerned that I'm about to stroke out or anything like that. Is basically what I'm getting at. Yeah. So basically, I've got the DEXA scan lined up and booked for 14 February, Valentine's Day. But it's for 7:30 in the morning. That's 2 hours away from me. So I will bring a camera. I will record some of it. I'm not 100% sure how much I'll be able to record, but I'm confident that I'll be able to at least record myself on the machine for some type of split, speed run or some kind of time-lapse thing. I'll figure something out, but I'll have time to think about it on the way up there and on the way back. But it's a ways out, but I wanted to go ahead and book it once their calendar came open. They only have a couple of Saturdays that usually open up, and I would prefer to do it on a Saturday because I can just get up at 4 in the morning and drive up there, do the scan, stop for something to, grab a protein shake from a gas station on the way back and be back before lunch, basically. So it is going to be my third one. So the original plan was I did the very first one I did very late. I think it was about 6 weeks into my weight loss. I kind of didn't really know about DEXA scans or if there was any around me, but I had already started the blog and I thought maybe it would be valuable for content to be able to have the data metrics from as close to the beginning as I could. So I decided to shell out the $150 and or 159 or whatever it was, drive 2 hours up there. So I got that first data, and shortly after that I added TRT and Tessa. So at that point I think I was probably 4 or 6 milligrams of Retatrutide. I'm not 100% sure, but the plan for the second one, so I was planning them 12 weeks apart, so 3 months-ish, was to take Retatrutide and Tessa with TRT and see what the visceral fat reduction was. So I had the benchmark, what those two compounds would do, and I had about a 30% reduction in my visceral fat during that 12-week period. So of course I had a lot more fat to lose. Now the new baseline is the one from mid-November, and I changed the day that I did the scan, I changed to HGH. So from that point till 14 February and probably beyond, I'll be on HGH, the 5 IUs. Dosing has changed slightly, but I need to dial that in, right? So took some time to dial in. The point that I'm trying to, or the data that I'm trying to capture, is what the differential percentage will be of fat loss, right? So I know the baseline of I had this much visceral fat and this much subcutaneous fat, like total fat mass from a DEXA scan, what that looked like 12 weeks on Reta and HGH. Dosing's a little bit off, and I will only deal with percentages when I do the comparison in the blog versus just raw, like you lost 20 pounds of pure fat. There's not 20 pounds to lose anymore, so we'll go off a percentage. And that's mainly because as soon as you say I'm going to add Tessa anywhere on the internet, Reddit, any GLP forum or anything like that, as soon as you say I'm adding Tessa to my Reta stack, everybody freaks out on you and becomes a fucking doctor. Why? It's so expensive. It's not effective. It doesn't work. You might as well just do HGH. So my goal is to check that, right? Because basically what I've seen so far is that's not really the case, and there's some very big caveats with HGH in the mix. So there's a lot more water retention, at least for me personally, and I didn't have high blood pressure at all when I was using my body's own, when I was pinging my body's own GH production. So that is probably a direct, I know that it's a direct effect of the water retention that the HGH introduced, because pulling it for it was gone for about a week, so we've got that aspect in there. Gone for about a week, purged that water, blood pressure came back down, added blood pressure medication, added HGH back in. So it was almost exactly a week. I think it was a week and a day that it was out of the mix, but yeah. All right. I've done a lot of talking today, and this one's fairly long. So I will probably end it here. I do want to appreciate and give thanks to everybody who basically comments daily on my daily vlogs. It's very encouraging. It's fun to see. I love giving thumbs ups and hearts and replying to comments when I can. Of course, if you got any kind of comment that you don't want in public forum, or you got a question, you can just reach out on the contact form. Use that contact form. That'll start an email chain between you and me. And if you've already got one going, just reply. You don't have to feel like you're flooding my inbox. It's email. It's if it was urgent, I would give you a phone number, right? But it shouldn't be, anything you're contacting me about shouldn't be urgent. So you know, it's email. I get to it when I can, and I do answer all emails. If it goes more than 2 days without a response from me on a particular email, feel free to like reply back to it. I do get a fair amount of email, and I'm only human, so it could slip through. I try and answer every single one, but you know how it is, right? Life's life. Yeah, your eyes get crossed at the end of the day, and you thought you were done. You close your laptop, and you left off 2 emails. So I do stop responding to most things around 9:30 p.m. though, so Central. So if you're expecting an answer at 10:30 at night or something, yeah, it'll be tomorrow morning. So again, join the newsletter if you haven't already. If you need the sources, please subscribe to the channel. It's been phenomenal to see the growth. We're well over 300 now, and I think we're 350 maybe, or just under 350. Before, I haven't checked while I'm talking to you, but yeah. So if you like this type of content, join. Thank you. I'll see you on Monday morning.